Morning. Thanks for coming to this beginner low pressure fitness class. We're going to start with a little bit of kind of gentle lymphatic type drainage. It's spring, maybe some of us have some allergies. It's also just morning time. So as a little bit of a warm up. So the way that we're going to do this is we're going to find our collarbone or clavicle here. And we're going to take our fingertips just on the top part of it. So gently sinking in more on the above that bone. And then we're going to create little circles. And we're going to take those little circles out towards the edge, towards the shoulder. So we're going along areas where we have lymph nodes and lymph channels that ultimately drain back to the center of our body and to the heart. So we're massaging them, which kind of gives them space if they've been compressed or haven't been moving, and wakes them up a little bit. And then we're going to take our fingers and just kind of tap along there. We're starting at the center, and then we move out to the limbs. So we want to like clear up any traffic jams before we send any traffic that way. Let's go over to the other clavicle. This is a nice also just for this area of our neck and shoulder where sometimes we get a lot of tension in the fascia and also in the nerves that come under this bone and go out into the arm. If you're having any neck stuff, which I know some of you are, and I am too, it's a lot tighter on the side where I've been having. And then let's tap along there. Good. Now we're going to come up right behind the jaw and in front of that bone, skull bone there. Maybe just one or two fingers here. And gently, because this can be a tender spot where some muscles attached to our vertebrae, we're going to do little circles here. If you want, you can kind of jut your jaw out, give you a little more room to get in there. And then we're going to take these circles and kind of sweep them down along this diagonal, kind of along where that muscle runs diagonally down towards the clavicles right here. Sometimes if you're sick, you get a little swollen in this area, a little lymph node might get a little swollen. Nice, let's do a little tapping. And just for fun with our fingertips, let's come up kind of right under our eyes and do a little tapping here. This could be an area where you can get a little congested, venous congested, if your air passages are a little bit swollen or you're having some allergies or you're not sleeping well and snoring. You get those dark circles so that the blood is kind of pooling there and not returning well. Okay, that's kind of good. All right, we got to go to the armpit. I'm sorry. I hope your deodorant is not as slimy as mine. So same thing, just using pads of the fingers and creating some circles here, kind of coming from the far part of the armpit back to the center or back towards the rib cage. And then we'll do a little in over there. Good. And let's come to the other side. This is my least favorite part. I never think I'm nervous for these, and then I'm sweating. Little tapping. Good. Okay. Upper body. Now we're going to come right to that, the rib cage here, right in the middle. Gentle little circles here. And then we're going to take these circles down towards the belly button and then around the belly button, either way, and then back up. Down, around. Through. Okay, so now we kind of cleared that belly channel coming up. We're going to come to the groin. Okay. Hi, Emily. Thanks for joining. All right, so we're just doing a little lymph drainage. So now we're in the groin here. Oops, left. Just where the crease of the hip is. This area can get congested a lot if we've been sitting. Movement is one of the main things that helps move our lymph back. And we need space between the tissues for things to flow. All right, almost done here. We're going to go to the back of the knees. Popliteal fossa. So just gentle circles massaging in between those tendons. Nice. Okay, let's check in with forward bending and raising our arms overhead as a little pre-test. Hopefully I remember to check it at the end. So you're going to look down with your head, try to roll down segmentally through the mid-back, low back, hips, coming all the way down and noticing how far you get. Fingers to the floor, to your ankles, mid-shin. Coming back up, and then thumbs pointing forward, take the thumbs up towards the ceiling. And notice how high you can get the arms without a lot of backward bending. A little bit of elongation through there. So we're just noting that, noting how it feels in our shoulders. Good. So we're going to start with a little bit, I think we've done this before. This is Temis. We're going to have a little bit of a wider stance for this. So we're going to bring our hips, our feet wider than hip distance apart. You can let your toes turn out a little bit. And we're going to practice kind of sinking. And when you do, I want you to keep this length through your low back. So hips are kind of turned out, knees are pointing over the toes, and we're going to try to drop down, letting the hips open, but not letting our pelvis dump forward. So it's a little bit challenging if you have any tightness in your hips, like I do. So it can almost help to kind of keep your hand, on your belly and your low back. The first couple of times you try dropping down and just see, are you able to keep that same spinal alignment as you drop down and back up. Is that okay for you, Jory? Look good. Okay, let's add the arms in. So arms are going to come out wide, and we're going to reach the fingers to opposite sides of the wall. We're going to breathe in and drop down, and then exhale as we press up. Good. Breathing in and pressing up. I'm going to do one more of these. Good. Pressing up, exhaling, and then we're going to practice one apnea here after you let the air out. Close nose, throat, and mouth. Open the ribs. Breathe in as you need to. Exhale and bring the arms down. Good. Now we're going to do a little bit of releasing through the rib cage here, and then we're going to repeat that and just see how it feels, especially through this midsection to get the apnea in that position. So we're going to practice this in a little bit of para, which is where we start to bend forward. So our feet are hip distance apart now, and we're going to round forward, so head, rib cage, hips. So we're not sitting our hips back, we're rounding forward here. We're kind of keeping space, but now we have slack in that tissue under the rib cage. So leave one hand on your thigh and take the other. So I'm going to take my right hand under my right rib cage. You can do both hands if you want, but as long as you feel comfortable on your back. If that feels like too much of a strain, then you can keep some support there with your hands. So we're sinking, we got some slack on our belly here. And we're using our fingers to kind of sink under those ribs and kind of coming down along the angle of the ribs. Good. Now come to the other side. You switch hands if you need to. And what's interesting is you might find that when you get into different positions, so usually we've been working this on our back. Sometimes maybe we've done it sitting. You just may notice that a different kind of rotation, a different area of tightness. So we're kind of winding up our fascia in different planes and giving it more space, more movement there. Good. All right, roll back up. And now we're going to go into a little bit of side bending. So I want you to side bend to the left. So we're putting a little bit of slack over on this left side again. And you might even want to forward bend a little bit. And then let's sink in this position. Good. Okay, other side. Nice. All right, let's take the feet a little bit wider again. Plant your left hand on the left hip. I like that teacup song. Take the right arm up overhead, and then we're going to kind of keep our hips in the center and side bend over that. So we're not collapsing there. Reaching up tall, keeping our hips in the center, elongating through that right side, and then once you breathe into the ribs, exhale, see if you can lengthen that side even more. And then come back up. Good. Hand on the other hip. Keeping it in the center. Left arm comes up towards the ceiling. Reach it long. So we're already kind of lengthening that side. Then arcing over the hips to get a lot of length all through here. This is a really long side fascial line that can restrict the rib movement if it's tight. Breathe into the ribs. Exhale, see if you can lengthen that side even more. Good. Coming back to the center. Press the hands out wide. Let's put a little extension in those wrists now. And then we're going to breathe in and drop down. Kind of reversing the breathing here. Let's breathe in, dropping down, exhaling on the way up. So palms are reaching out to the walls, kind of expanding hands, breathing in, dropping down, keeping that low back long, pressing up. Let's do one more. This will be the last breath. At the top here, hold nose closed, hold your breath, open the ribs. Good. Okay, that felt a little easier for me. Poking around in there for so long. Very good. So we'll move into actually doing some para now. This is really nice for lengthening that back line. If it feels too tight, you can always soften the bend in your knees. But we'll try to keep that little bit of bend. So remember, inside bending, feet are hip distance apart, soft bend in the knees, check in with your low back, grow tall through the crown of the head, Athena arms here, and we're gonna look down with length through our neck. So you can think about your fists being between your chin and your chest. As you start to arc your head forward, thinking about a rainbow, like the crown of the head is a rainbow diving down towards the ground. And that bending is going to continue into your mid back. And we keep rounding with length, maintaining that space, bringing our hands to our thighs just above our knees here. Press your hands into your thighs. That's going to help you keep the rib cage up out of the pelvis. So even though we've shortened the front, we're still keeping space there. So we have room for our apnea. We're not collapsed and pushing everything out and down. So in this position, you're going to breathe in. Exhale. Always growing long on that exhale. Good. Breathing in again. That looks good, Joy. Exhale. We'll do one last breath here on your own time. When you get to the bottom of that exhale, you're going to prepare your apnea. Open the wrist. Trying to open. This is a challenging position to create the apnea in. And breathe in, stay here. Keep gliding down the shins as you're able to. Okay, so our head keeps diving forward. We're still keeping space. We're letting our hands come further down our shins. So we're doing a lot of forward bending here. Breathe in here. Exhale. One more breath. Good, all through that back body. Exhale. Now, take your hands about 2 feet in front of you if you can, and shift onto your hands. Okay, so we're in this upside down view, pressing through the arms. Head is reaching towards the floor. Breathe in. Exhale and slowly lower the knees to the ground. Good. Then you can walk your hands to your thighs. So our toes are tucked and we're in this kneeling position. If you need your towel or booster for your knees, this is a good time to get it. Doing okay? Mid it. Okay. We're just going to do a little bit of rocking here in this aura position. So when we're sitting back, we're getting a lot of stretching through the bottom of our feet, through the toes. Then we're going to press our hips up, really squeezing the bottom so that we can keep our back long and lengthen this front of the hip. So this is a big stretch through the front of the hip. Most of us will have tightness that makes us want to kind of dump this way. So we're really fighting that with our glutes. Then we're sitting back and pressing up. Good. Foot stretch, front of the hip stretch. All right, now let's stay up tall. Bring your arms into a low Venus here. Breathing in. Exhale. On the exhale, think about growing as tall as you can, like there's a line from your knees to your head. Breathing in. Exhale. Rotate the palms behind you and point the fingers back behind you. Breathing in again. Good. Exhale, lengthen the neck, just reaching the head forward, keeping that space between the chin and the chest. Hold your breath. Open the ribs. Reach the arms behind you if you can as you hold the ribs open. Breathing in. Bring that head back up, arms back to the center. Let's bring hands forward here. We're going to transition from this aura position down into hands and knees Gaia. So we're bringing our hands closer to the ground, but we don't want to fall and flop. So we're shifting our weight as we need to so that we can slowly come forward. Time gets a little fast there at the end. And now we're just in this hands straight forward position on our knees, toes are tucked, back is flat here. So we're going to do a little bit of a warm up for our hips. We're going to rock back, pushing with the hands, and then pulling with the hands and pressing forward. I want you to play with something. If it feels okay for your hips, you're going to rotate your feet a little bit wider. So we're internally rotating our hips. If you were to have had a hip replacement or something, you may not want to do this. Okay? But if you can do this without any pinching, you could widen your hips a little bit. What we're also doing here is we're sort of kind of spreading those bones that we sit on, creating a little more space in our pelvic floor. And we're going to gently rock back as long as the hips feel okay. And then rock forward. And if you can do this, as you're pressing back, I want you to sort of notice that space between the sit bones, where the back of the pelvic floor is. And just see if you get a lift with the sense of kind of spreading or dropping, relaxing or opening there. Very good. All right, feet back to neutral. Let's bring our fingertips so they're pointing towards each other. Slight bend in the elbows. So we've got those Athena arms, they're pushing into the mat and they're also pressing wider. And in this position, we're going to breathe in. 360 breath here. We can feel it go all the way around the rib cage, front, back, and sides. Exhale. On the exhale, I want you to reach the crown of your head towards the floor. Your back is staying flat. Weight shifted onto those hands. Breathe in again. Exhale. At the bottom here, you're going to hold your breath. Open the ribs, create your abdominal vacuum. Breathing in and exhale. If you still have some left in the tank here in your arms, we're going to press up onto them, okay? If that doesn't feel good, just stay in this position and do another round of breathing here. We're going to breathe in. Exhale. On the exhale, push through the feet. Press your knees up, bottom up towards the ceiling. Good. Breathe in again. Exhale. Bring yourself slowly back down. Good. We're going to do one more and stay at the top for an apnea if you're able. So breathing in. Exhale, pressing up. Lots of work through the arms, reaching the heels towards the floor, even if they don't get there. Breathe in again. Exhale. If you need to come down, come down. If you can stay here, hold your breath. Open the ribs for the apnea. Breathe and come down. Very good. Under your toes, sit back into child's pose. If your knees will allow you, gonna release your hands there. And just rest a little bit back in this position. Good. Big workout for the arms there. Now let's walk our hands off to the side. So if we come off to the left side, we're going to get a little more stretch through that right rib cage, down to the hip, up into the arm. Breathe into that. Take the left hand, if you're off to the left side, reverse it if you went the other way. Thread it through under your arm. And look under there. So we're adding some rotation here. If you want to increase the rotation, press the back of the left hand into the floor. And then breathe in. Good. Bring that arm back. Walk over to the other side. Breathing into the left ribs, side of the body, waist, arm. Threading that right hand underneath and through. Turning your head to look at it. Press that hand into the floor. Good. And coming back. All right, take your feet off to the side. Walk your hands back. We're gonna come to a sitting position. We're gonna cross our legs. This is a good time for your towel roll, yoga block, yoga poof, something to sit on. Give your hips a little more space and to make it a little easier to keep your back and trunk upright. This is Hestia. I like to call it the muffin top pose. If my leggings are too tight, this is the muffin top pose. So cross the legs, dorsiflex the feet. We're going to come into this Athena position, growing the crown of the head. Make sure you're not dumped back. And also make sure you haven't overarched to try to stay up tall. So we're trying to create just a straight column from the sit bones up through the crown of the head. And then pressing with the hands, we can create a little bit of tractioning distraction force to give us that space here and more room to breathe. Good, breathe in. Let's just do a 2-breath cycle here. Again, when you're ready. The bottom, hold your breath and create the apnea. Breathing in. Rotate the fingers. So we're going to create a straighter Venus arm here. So we went from some internal rotation. Here more external rotation, but it's narrow. So don't let that crunch your shoulders up. See if you can keep them pressing down and wide, almost like you're trying to slide them off your knees like that, but we're going to stay connected, fingers pointing up towards the ceiling. And then breathing in here. Good. Exhale. If it feels okay for your neck, drop the head down. So we're getting a lot of neural mobilization with this, but if it's too much, keep the head up. Breathe in again. Exhale. Ready at the bottom, create your apnea. Keep holding, push through the arms. Breathe in and take a breath when you need to. Bring the head back up to neutral. Switch your legs. Feel a little weird. Dorsiflex those feet. Now, we created this nice tall column. Take your right hand to, actually think about this. Bring your sternum, just your chest, towards the left knee. Make sure that right butt cheek stays on the ground for your block. Place your hand on the outside of that leg, and then turn your head and chest. If you're able to reach the arm behind you, do that. You can use this hand for a little counter pressure to try to twist, but we're keeping that twist in this column. So we're not side bending or collapsing to try to go further. Back. Think about sternum or breastbone here. Turning over the other knee. Hand to the outside of that knee. Press. Take the arm behind you. Look behind you as you're able. Notice that you're just twisting like a column, like a pure, if you silly. Still straight, but you're twisting. Good. And then come back. Okay. Uncross your legs. Bring the block out. We're going to use our arm to slowly lower us down to the ground and onto our back. Good. Now we're going to do just a little, in this hook line position, a little breathing and an apnea here. If you would like, take whatever you've been propping yourself on, place it under your sacrum or glutes, not your low back. If that feels good, like some nice traction or distraction for your low back, then use that here while we do the breath work. If it doesn't, take it out. And we're just going to focus on our breathing in this position. So we'll do 3 breaths and an apnea here. The floor as a little bit of feedback or with a little bit of increased traction. And this is a nice position if you have any kind of rectocele or prolapse of those organs at the back. Breathing in. Exhale. Breathing in. Do one more breath in your own time. And at the end of that breath, create your apnea. Good. You can get a lot of abdominal vacuum with that gravity helping you when you're up on that bolster. So that feels really interesting. Let's take the bolster out. Bring your bottom back down. Get that length through the spine. Bring your feet, walk your feet out to Demeter. Some 45 degrees or so. Flex your toes back towards you. Press through the heels. Let's come arms out to the side. Palm up. Really growing long. So now we're really pressing our feet, which puts us in a nice neutral low back position. Reaching like across. So lengthening this way and lengthening out to the side. In, we'll do a 2-breath cycle. Exhaling, emptying from the bottom up, really lengthening. Using that floor to check in with all the parts of our back. One more breath if you haven't done it. At the end of this exhale, hold your breath. Open the ribs, create the apnea. Exhale. Very good. Reach your feet a little bit longer and bring them together. If you are able, I know you can bring them together, but reach them a little longer if you're able to without getting a lot of arching in your back. Cross the right foot over the left. Connect the outside of the feet. Now, check in with your low back. Did that pop you up? If it did, push through the heel that's on the ground. Reset your low back. Bring your arms up towards the ceiling. Connect the hands. So palm of the right hand connects with the back of the left. You're looking at the back of your right hand. You created an oval. We're going to breathe in. As you exhale, take the hands up overhead. So the oval is coming up overhead. We're trying to frame our face with the oval if we can. Keep pushing through the foot to keep your back long. Breathe in again. Exhale. The palms are trying to slide apart from each other, and we're going to keep the rib cage in contact with the floor. This is Celine. We're creating a moon. Let's do one more breath. Exhale. At the bottom of this exhale, hold your breath. Create the apnea. Breathing in, hands come back up towards the ceiling. Switch the hands, uncross the feet. Cross the left foot over the right. Connect the outsides of the feet together. Press out through that right heel, growing your back long. Breathing in. Exhale. Arms go overhead. Trying to frame our face if we have the shoulder mobility. Breathing in. Exhale, hands are gliding apart from each other, ribs are staying in contact with the floor. Last breath. Exhale. At the bottom. Close nose, burning mouth. Open the ribs. Breathing in. Good. Exhale. Bring the arms back to the shoulder, ceiling. Uncross the legs. And bring the arms back down to the floor. Good. Let's draw, I think we've got time for one more. Let's draw our heels up towards our bottom. Feet a little bit wider than hip distance apart. Still try to dorsiflex the feet. Still press through the heels. Turn the palms up towards the ceiling. Slide your arms up overhead. So we're almost in an X. So we're in high Venus. Fingers are reaching towards opposite corners of the room. Make sure your neck stays long. So we're reaching the arms, pressing through the feet, breathing in. Exhale, press through the heels, pressing the bottom up. Keep the back long as you press your hips up. Stay here. Breathing in. Exhale. We're going to do one more breath. Stay up. Lots of glutes. Breathing in. Exhale. At the bottom of this breath, you're going to create the apnea. Close the nose, throat, and mouth. Open the ribs. Keep opening, keep opening, keep opening. Lower your hips. And take a breath and relax. Very good. Bring your arms down to a relaxed position. Bring our feet down. Point your toes. Reach the fingertips up over your head, making yourself really long, like a long pencil. And then bring your arms down by your side. We've done a lot of intentional breathing and working to take bigger breaths. Now I want you to just relax. Allow your breath to just come naturally in and out. Do a little sinking or melting starting at your toes. Releasing up into the ankles. Back of the calves kind of melting into the mat. Quads relaxing. Glutes letting go. The space between your sit bones, releasing any tension there. Feeling the breath come into our chest and our belly. Move back, sinking into the mat. Noticing any tension or holding in our shoulders. Releasing that down to the elbow, down into the forearms, into the palm of the hands, and out through the fingers. Relaxing our throat. Allowing the jaw to soften, deep apart. Coming up to that space between our eyebrows, allowing that to widen. Allowing the muscles around our eyes to relax. And just being present and noticing our breath, not trying to change it, just noticing it. If our mind starts to wander to the next thing to do, place to be, just gently bring our mind back to our breath. When you're ready, open your eyes. Bring your heels back up towards your bottom. Roll onto your side. Come up to standing. And let's check in with our pre-test. Make sure you're not dizzy and dropping our head. Reaching forward towards the floor. Noticing bending with that. Curling back up, taking the arms up, overhead. Good. Hopefully those feel better. Thanks for joining me.